Hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of PAR Real Talk. And my name is Pali. This is Power is Radio. And today I have a super special guest on the show. So if I get you to please introduce yourself, tell us your name, and tell us what you do, please, and where you're from as well.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Dr. Allison Parker. I am a private practice literacy coach, and I'm hailing from Brooklyn, New York City, where I was born and raised.
Perfect. Like that, short and simple. And
Less is more.
absolutely, absolutely. And I kind of like to start with kind of like what I call the big picture. Um, so we're here talking about understanding the reading achievements gaps in the Black community. So how would you describe the current state of reading achievements for Black children? Well, in America, which is where you're from, in public schools.
We are in a state of emergency. There's such a high level of urgency. We're in a state of crisis. Two-thirds of all fourth graders do not and cannot read on grade level. Two-thirds of all eighth graders also do not and cannot read accurately and fluently to grade level expectations. They're not on grade level either. So there is a huge reading achievement gap, which I believe dates back to when data was documented in America back in the 1970s. So I'm part of that data. I was born in 1971 and I am a product of New York City Public Schools. And I grew up literate. Literacy was a big deal at home, but my counterparts, some of them were not. And today, what we notice in the data is it's stagnant, where we seem to be stuck. And I truly believe that part of that reading achievement gap stems and begins before children even start school, which led me to write my book, Mom is the Missing Link. The reading achievement gap doesn't actually start at school when kids start kindergarten. It starts before they enter school. There's already an achievement gap because students lack language skills, they lack literacy skills, they lack phonemic awareness and phonics, and they're not fluent. They don't know enough sight words. Their vocabulary, both receptive and expressive, are relatively low for most kids. And we're in a state of emergency. And what I truly believe is that because we have this large achievement gap, it is also negatively impacting wealth potential and earnings potentials because we know that if children graduate from high school and they move on either in a particular trade, start a business, become an employee, what have you, students who are more literate tend to elevate. They can partake in social mobility, but students who are not powerfully literate, who are ninth graders, 10th graders, who can't read fluently, who are stuck reading at the elementary school level, which I've seen this in my travels as a literacy coach at the high school level as well. Many ninth graders and 10th graders are reading at the elementary school level. They're stuck at fifth grade, or some of them have gotten to a point where they can read sixth grade level text, but it's not fluent. Once they get to three-syllable multisyllabic words or four-syllable words, they're stuck.
Hmm.
So I would say we're in a state of crisis. It's an emergency. It's been an emergency. It's just that I want to bring awareness to mothers, new mothers, pregnant mothers, mothers of children, ages pre-birth to before entering kindergarten. Hey, here's a set of practices that you can implement and help to decrease a gap before your child starts school. Mothers are thinking that school starts and learning starts when you get to school. Teachers are thinking when kids are home, grandma at daycare, or wherever kids are between birth and starting kindergarten, or pre-K that children are working on language and literacy and ABCs and sounds. And, both these stakeholders may be a little bit delusional because one is expecting the other to be, carrying out the work when it starts at home. Mothers need to be made aware of this and the
Mm,
power that they have to help avoid this reading achievement gap. And because we want to bring students into school systems ready. They're not ready. And
no,
so they start off with an achievement gap. So they're constantly playing catch up. You come to Saturday school, go to after school, go to the special reading group. We're playing catch up from the beginning, but it's because there's a reading achievement gap before students start school. And so the data has shown over 5 decades, hey, the data's pretty stagnant. And
mm.
we have to think about why.
So, like, just listening to that, like, I feel, usually, as parents, especially like maybe to the mothers, they're the ones that are mostly going to have that a lot more time maybe with the kid, especially for Black families, the dad is out like earning or doing whatever. So, but the mom will go, oh, it's the school's problem. So why do you think this is actually dangerous? That before the school, because you're obviously your child is not going to start school on the first day, but it will take some time while he's still bonding with you. So why do you feel if the mom thinks, they will learn that at school? For now, I just teach them how to speak Yoruba. Why do you think
It's
that?
it's just a societal perception that I believe is flawed. Society has made us believe, because it wasn't like this always. You learn to read in the past at home. Now in America, the mindset is, oh, you learn to read at school. No, the power is within mom. The reading achievement gap can be avoided if mom were, working on rhyming words, letters and sounds, language skill development and reading to children every day as if life depended on it, because it does depend on it. And
Mm,
it's just a flawed societal perception. And I think it's perpetuated in the media. There's this focus on women in the workplace and equal rights and women empowerment, which I'm all for it. I'm all for it, but we cannot forget our most important job. Our most important job is to make sure that our children can handle the rigors, the challenges that life will bring. And some kids, many kids, are stumped because
mm,
they cannot read accurately and fluently. So
mm,
while we're working on getting degrees, while we're working on getting the next promotion, while we're working on social mobility and trying to climb our own ladders, we can't forget the role of working on behalf of our children to close the reading achievement gap before it even begins. That's Mom is a child's first teacher, not the kindergarten teacher, not the pre-K teacher, not the daycare teacher. Mom.
And I suppose that brings me into the book itself, where it says mom is the missing link. So it's a mother-led literacy revolution. Can you tell us a bit more about the book and what you aim to bring and change with this preconception that we already have?
I aim to bring awareness to mothers that there are 25 pedagogical practices. Pedagogy is the art and science of teaching children, and the art and science of teaching children does not begin at school. It begins with mom. Mom's empathy, mom's love, mom's noticing of child development from birth to age 2. Is the kid reaching the milestones? Is the kid speaking? If the kid isn't speaking, are we getting early intervention services? What is mom doing on a daily basis while interacting with the child? What does mom's parenting look like? So all of this is addressed in the book. Parenting styles, what mom can be doing. Let's say from early on. I mean, if you're pregnant, you could be reading to your fetus so that that fetus is hearing the lullaby in sentences, multisyllabic words, mom's voice, the voice of other family members. The brain is being developed in utero, and that means we can be working on language development as early as, let's say, 20 weeks pregnant,
mm,
6 months pregnant. Why not start then? We have to stop thinking that it's somebody else's responsibility to nurture and take care of our children in terms of literacy. It is not. Our job goes beyond food, clothing, shelter, and video games. What happened to literacy? What happened to the responsibility of reading to our children, with our children, nearby? Mom is cooking, kid could be reading, mom is listening. Oh, go back, read that sentence again, sweetie. It's simple practices, but mom is disengaged and making her aware that it's our responsibility. It's
mm,
not anyone else's responsibility. Birth through kindergarten, look at what you could be doing. It's our responsibility. Teachers are thinking these kindergarten kids, they don't know their letters, they don't know their sound. These are the words I've heard from teachers as a literacy coach. Teachers are expecting kids to come in knowing letters, sounds, how to write their name, how to hold a pencil.
mm, mm,
This
mm,
should be happening at home. So I want to bring awareness to the fact that we may be perpetuating the reading achievement gap. And why don't we take these practices and implement them? So the book is set up in 5 parts. So there are practices birth through age 2. Then there are practices age 3 through 5, and then kindergarten to grade 2, and then grades 3 through 5. So that mom has, no matter what age of the child, here are practices that you can implement. And when I say practices, I mean routines. I mean bring structure, create an environment where children can thrive, reading on a daily basis. I'm in private practice. My number one client is mom, and mom with the child who's a struggling reader, mom with the child who's dyslexic, mom with the child who hates reading. On one of the pages in my book, I mentioned, I always ask my new clients, hey, about literacy at home. When's the last time, you've mom read a bedtime story to you? When's the last time this happened? I have some clients who tell me mom has never read me a bedtime story.
mm,
Mom doesn't read me bedtime stories. She's too busy. Mom is too busy with work. Mom is too busy with my younger siblings. I'm not a baby anymore. Even children's perceptions of literacy at home is flawed. I'm not a
mm,
baby anymore. Nobody reads to me. When did literacy at home have to do? When did it have to do with infancy and toddlerhood?
mm.
The brain needs stimulation in utero to the day we die. So where do we get the perception that reading is for babies?
That's a very important bit you touched there because I'm processing it and thinking, yeah, that's true. It gets to a certain age where you like generally parents just stop reading to their kids. They think, oh yeah, you can do it by yourself. So, but the bit that I want to cover again is that why do you choose to focus on African American mothers as kind of like your primary audience for this book?
Well, in my private practice, which was established on July 2nd, 2012, my number one client is Black women with struggling readers. So after each tutoring session, we debrief. I talk to mom about what I did, why I did, and here's the practice work to do between sessions. So instead of telling mom verbally, I would love to say, hey, mom, on page such and such, read such and such, or apply such and such. I would love to point mom in the direction of a book. I needed to duplicate the knowledge in my mind and put it in a place where mom could easily access the information. So that's what led me to write the book. And so my primary client is Black women with children that have dyslexia and or learning disabilities, ADD, ADHD, dyscalculia, which is a learning disability in math. So dysgraphia, which is a learning disability in writing. So now the book is not only, I'm not saying it's only for African Americans. On the front cover, women from other races are represented as well. It's just, I know that this tool must be put in the hands of Black women who tend to be my primary audience, my target audience, because that is who I am serving right now. And that is who I have been serving for the last 12 and a half years that I've been in private practice. It's been Black women supporting me. This is my way of supporting her. Now, have I ever had Caucasian and Hispanic parents, clients? Absolutely. And you know, these practices are for all mothers, but I know that um who needs to hear this the most? If you look at the data, African American children are at the bottom when it comes reading achievement gap is impacting us, our children, the most,
mm,
which is
mm,
then also negatively impacting our social mobility. Why is it that, you know, we know that the research shows that many of the people who are incarcerated, they have limited literacy rates. Most of them are stuck
mm.
at the elementary school level. They can't read a fifth grade passage fluently. Why? They're probably learning disabled and they didn't get the support they needed. And so they acted out in school, you know, eventually they gave up and they dropped out. And so they had a life that interfered with them getting what they needed legally. So they created a job and they ended up in prison. This is having a negative, illiteracy is having a negative impact on the African American community.
And I kind of want to go off like what you said there about, learning difficulties, dyslexia, dyscalculia, ADHD, and other learning challenges. How do you help mothers actually recognize these signs in their children? Because maybe that's part of the problem. They don't know till then the children is not achieving. And to be honest, when I was growing up, it would be, oh, you're not focusing enough and you just get beaten. And that was the solution when I was growing up. You get
Oh,
beaten
yeah.
and that should focus you more. But well, I don't think that's the solution. So how do you help more of us actually to recognize this? And
So there's a set of three ebooks that I'm working on currently. One is called demystifying dyslexia. We have to demystify what dyslexia is and show parents, hey, look at these 10 bullets. These are the attributes and features of a student that has dyslexia. We can recognize dyslexia as early as early childhood. Children who have speech delays and who are mispronouncing words, who have trouble with remembering basic information. These are signs. Poor working memory is the number one sign. Poor phonemic awareness is a huge sign. These are signs, but mom is unaware. And so I have three ebooks, Demystifying Dyslexia, which outlines the features to define it for mom and show her so she can notice, hey, I noticed these patterns in my own child. Um, Demystifying Dyscalculia, which is defining what dyscalculia is and showing mom, if you have a kid who's struggling in math, hey, it might be because it's this. Same for, it's not that he's bad at math. He has a learning disability and it's going to be a challenge for him to learn. But if we implement these set of practices for struggling readers, if we implement this set of practices for kids who struggled in math. And then I also have the next ebook, which I created those. I'm creating those to accompany this. So I anticipated, so here are the pedagogical practices. And then I know that most kids who are struggling because it's not because they're bored. It's not because they don't want to do it. It's because they have a learning disability. And so sometimes we frown upon the words or the terms learning disabled, but it's a real concept. And to shed light on it and make our community more aware that these things are, Johnny is not doing this because he's having a bad day because it's cloudy outside. He's doing this because he has a disability. And we have to take another approach, a different approach, a more multi-sensory approach to help him understand and help you understand why he is doing what he is doing. So I do have the 3 ebooks that are forthcoming to support this book so that there are a plethora of resources for mom to use to help her understand what is going on with the child.
Mm, mm. Wow, that's well, I'm really looking forward to those because I think yeah, you've obviously thought it through. It's one thing to say, yeah, this is the problem, but it's even better going, oh, actually, these are the solutions to your problems. So while we're
Can I
here,
just piggyback on what you said? And
yes.
and debriefing with parents after the tutoring session, we have a conversation. And so sometimes they'll say, he knows, but he just can't remember, or she knows, but he just doesn't want to do. No, the part of the brain that focuses on language, that focuses on problem solving is weak. It's underdeveloped. Here's what we can do to develop these parts of the brain. They don't know. And so they think it's because, oh, he's just giving me a hard time today. He's just misbehaving. But I know he knows. No, he needs to overlearn everything. His brain needs repetition. We need a dose a day. It's not learn it and then the brain needs repetition, 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 practice. Because there's so much coming at kids in school. Today you learn how to add fractions. Tomorrow you learn how to subtract fractions. The next day you learn how to compare fractions. After that, it's equivalent fractions. Then it's multiplying and dividing. It's changed from an improper fraction to a mixed number. It's so much language. Like children need mom involved because there is so much happening. And just going to school every day, attending every day. Most kids who attend every day, they're at the bottom.
Mm,
Attendance at school is not what kids need. They need attendance plus mom. This is a cry for mom to recognize that she has to do more, because we can't wait till later when you're 17, 18, and you've convinced yourself that you're stupid, that we try to figure out what's wrong with you then. No, we have to fix it now. We have to work on it in elementary, early childhood, K through 2, birth through age 2. We know all the signs. Let me inform mom so we can support her, so she can implement these practices, so we can save more lives, so we can reduce student anxiety. They're concerned. Children know they're different if they're different.
mm,
They know
mm,
they're different.
mm,
I knew that I was different in school. I struggled in math, and I believe I have dyscalculia. I mean, my struggle began in 4th grade and it continued through 12th grade. It wasn't that I had trouble with one topic, I had trouble with everything.
mm, mm,
And the word problems stumped me. And so my brain needed repetition, repetition, repetition. If it wasn't for Mr. Osmond, and all my clients know who Mr. Osmond is. I tell all my children the first tutoring session that I struggle. I know how it feels to be stupid. I know how it feels to think am I dumb? How come I don't know this? They all know this. How come I don't know this? So they all know who Mr. Osmond was. This was my high school math teacher who basically saved my life. He saved my life and made me aware of this step-by-step process. I later learned as a teacher, this is called explicit instruction. When I started teaching as a 4th grade teacher. And when I started teaching as a fourth grade teacher, I remember how he taught me to help me get it. It was a very step by step. And he infused constant repetition. So my brain could easily recognize, oh, this kind of problem. So then I could apply the practices he told me to apply so that I could win in math because it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, well, so glad, you come out of all of that. And if you didn't go through that, I suppose you won't be qualified to actually say, yeah, I teach you. So because you've gone through that and to go through that and become a doctor, that on its own is inspirational. And kind of time is running through. I can talk on this forever. So, where can people go and find you? Do you have a website, social media links? I know your book is obviously on Amazon, and you can type it on Google, and it pops up right up. So, where
Yes. So my
people,
my the my website where people can find out more about me, where mothers can join my literacy coaching community, where if they're concerned about if their children have dyslexia and mom's not sure, she can book an appointment with me right on my website through Calendly. So my website is Dr. Allison Parker, Ph.D.com. And there you can fill out a form, a contact form. I'll get the email or she can book the appointment. I'm available for mothers to reach out. The most important thing I want to communicate is that we need community. And so that's why there's a school community right on my website where parents can click the link and join the community and get their questions answered and lock arms with other mothers in this mission. I believe that we can close the reading achievement gap. And I believe that because in the 12 and a half years that I've been in private practice, I've tutored so many beautiful children. Okay, it's been my pleasure. And a lot of my kids were kindergarten kids who mom came to my office and she was crying and the kid was upset, or the first grade kid and mom thought, oh, the teachers are going to hold him over. The teacher said he's getting left back. And in 6 months, the gap is closed. The earlier, the better.
Mhm.
Kindergarten kid who goes from a non-reader to a reader. So I know the gap can close. When I say gap, I mean reach grade level standards. If you're below kindergarten level and mom is worried, join the community, learn the practices, buy the book, ask your questions. Actually, I have a course. That course is called the Syllable Division Queen because children K through 12 get stuck on tricky words, two-syllable words, one-syllable words. They don't know how to decode the words. And so they read quietly at school because teachers rarely listen to children read. And if children are not reading to an adult, how do we know if they're fluent or disfluent?
Mhm.
And so I want to be able to empower mom and offer her a course on what to do when kids are stuck on a word. So at my website, Dr. Allison Parker, PhD.com, there are a plethora of resources for moms to access to start growing our children as readers. This is our responsibility, and we can do this. Mom is powerful. The subtitle is The Power is Within You. Mom has all the power, but we have to let her know she has all the power.
That is amazing. That's really, really good. It's not just something to learn, it's empowering. So, yes, we can do it. Well, time kind of has run through.
Mhm.
So, I would just like to say thank you so, so much for coming to share your immense wisdom with us. And
It's been
yeah, I
my
think we
pleasure.
definitely need to catch up again, see what the viewers say. So, any closing remarks from you?
The reading achievement gap starts not at school, it starts at home. The power is within mom. Mom is the missing link, and it's time to roll up our sleeves and do what we need to do for our children, not wait until the state tests, until the report card, until parent-teacher conferences. Mothers intuitively know when their children are not where they're supposed to be, but they don't have a set of strategies and practices, and my book solves that problem.
Wow. Well, let's go and get the book. Let's go and read about it. Let's bring our community out of this whole, the stuff, stigma that they say about Black people. And yeah,